A social media platform that's designed for older single women. Spinstergram.
Right. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another one of these. In my hours of procrastination, I participate in more or less daily. I came across this video, this short, from this chap who's William something or other. I can't remember. He's Mr. Guy 50 or that guy 50, the guy, whatever. You'll see in a sec. I think it's him and his son. He has an Instagram channel full of nothing but these little comedy skits, and I use the word comedy in the loosest sense of the term, where they're constantly saying all these banal jokes, really quite lame. These little skits and what have you. I think it's him, his son, and I think his son's girlfriend. But one little skit caught my interest the other day, and I don't know how genuine it is. I really don't. The reason being, it's like less than 1% of the content of his channel. Everything is these stupid little comedy bits, and then all of a sudden, this thing pops up where it's him and his son repeating the same old moon landing denier mantras, the same things they go over and over and over again. So I'm going to run through, because they get through quite a few in the short space of time. Like I say, I don't know how genuine they are when they're saying these things, because it goes a bit skew-if at the end, which I will show you. But we'll quickly run through, we'll say quickly, it takes a while, trying to figure out what exactly their game is. So I'll just start the video at the start and we'll pause where appropriate.
Hey, so what are you thinking?
Well, so I was thinking the first person on the moon would have actually been Neil Armstrong's cameraman, right?
No, and this has been gone over several times. The camera that recorded Neil Armstrong's first steps down the ladder onto the foot of the LEM before standing on the moon was recorded using a camera that was built into the side of the body of the LEM that was deployed and activated by Buzz Aldrin when Neil went down the ladder. If he's talking about the picture of the astronaut backing out down the ladder as well, that's Buzz Aldrin, the photo taken by Neil Armstrong. Next, please.
Plus, how would the moon landing have been live streamed in 1969 if, when you look it up, Google even says the first live stream was in 1993?
Newsflash: the world existed before the internet. The definition of a live stream may very well be over an ADSL line or something along those lines, but this wasn't a live stream. This was a live broadcast, which people had been doing for decades. This is not a new thing. The term live stream, comparatively speaking, is.
Well, and where are all the stars in the background?
If you look at the footage of the live stream they're talking about, I've said it again, the live broadcast they're talking about, it looked like it was filmed using a bowl of oatmeal. The resolution was so low that of course you're not going to see any stars. Pinpricks of light on a resolution that awful. Now granted, there was obviously the big debacle where for some reason all of the original broadcasts were basically recorded over through some administrative error, or someone just making a mistake. But if you're talking about the photography on the moon and the better footage, why there aren't any stars, simply put, I think it's called overwash. The light from the sun on the moon is unfiltered. There's no atmosphere to break through. That's why the astronauts had the visors on. It would have been a brilliant white if they'd had the exposure all the way up. So they have to turn it down a bit. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see anything. It would be just completely white. They turn it down, and because of that, you can't see the stars.
And what exactly was going on with those shadows?
Nothing. They're just shadows. Same as normal.
Not to mention, the flag was waving.
No, the flag wasn't waving, it was moving. If you look at the footage of Neil Armstrong desperately trying to get that flag up and seemed to have quite a bit of difficulty getting it to stand up straight in the rock, or the soil, or whatever, it's not even soil on the moon, he was having a lot of trouble, and because of that, he was constantly moving the flag, and then he moves underneath it, etc. But when he finally steps away, it settles down, and it doesn't move at all, because there's no air on the moon. You might think you're seeing it slightly wave, but what you're looking at is fluctuations in the broadcast, because if you look over at the LEM, that's also waving as well. It's just a wobbly signal.
Plus, there is no way that Apollo 11 would have made it through the Van Allen belts.
Now, I don't mean to cast aspersions or anything like that, but I've got a funny feeling these guys have no idea what the Van Allen radiation belts are. But on this situation, I'm going to completely defer to my colleague Dave McKeegan, who made an outstanding video, or posted an outstanding video earlier this week regarding the Van Allen radiation belts. Basically, the exposure the astronauts had was so minimal it wouldn't have affected them. Van Allen himself said that any speculation that the radiation would have been a lethal dose is utter garbage, and was actually constructed immediately, or initially, by none other than Fox News, so they haven't changed their tack in quite some time. In fact, James Van Allen had a written conversation with a colleague regarding a Fox News report about the Van Allen radiation belts, and I quote, "The outbound and inbound trajectories of the Apollo spacecraft cut through the outer portions of the inner belt, and because of their high speed spent only about 15 minutes in traversing the region and less than 2 hours in traversing the much less penetrating radiation in the outer radiation belt. The resulting radiation exposure for the round trip was less than 1% of a fatal dosage, a very minor risk among the far greater other risks of such flights. I made such estimates in the early 1960s, and so informed NASA engineers who were planning the Apollo flights. These estimates are still reliable. The recent Fox TV show, which I saw, is an ingenious and entertaining assemblage of nonsense. The claim that radiation exposure during the Apollo missions would have been fatal to the astronauts is only one example of such nonsense." So, Fox News just making up garbage for headlines as per usual.
If we went back then, why haven't we been back since?
Money and impetus. I mean, I know they are planning to go back to the moon for the Artemis mission, but quite frankly, there's no real point. The only reason to put anything on the moon now is as a stepping stone to go somewhere else. When the Apollo mission was abandoned, it's because they were spending huge amounts of money to go to somewhere they'd already been and found out pretty much everything they needed to. I know they went up with the lunar rover, which was tucked into the body of the LEM, before anybody asks. So they were able to drive around, a little bit of advancement there, but at the end of the day, they weren't finding out anything they hadn't already found out. So rather than, spend billions still, they'd beaten the Russians in the space race, might as well just pack it up.
In that iconic photo of Armstrong in his suit, wouldn't you see someone taking the picture of him in the visor? The reflection,
You mean this one?
It almost makes you think it was all set up just to win the space race against the Soviet Union.
That was a prime mover, absolutely. The Cold War was in its heyday, if that can be even used in this context. But yeah, the Americans wanted to beat Russia to the moon because, they'd put the Russians had put the willies up everybody by flying Sputnik around the planet, which was a modified, I believe, missile warhead. It wasn't manufactured or faked. It's been established. It would have been easier and cheaper to go to the moon than to try and fake it down on here. Remember how many people are currently working for NASA and who worked for NASA at the time? I think I said it in one of my early videos about conspiracy theories in general. When you have that amount of people who are supposedly in on the secret, I think the expected lifespan of any such secret is about 3.5 years. People smarter than me have figured out the numbers. Basically, any huge conspiracy any conspiracy that would involve an amazingly large amount of normal human beings keeping a secret, the probabilities of it remaining a secret is virtually zero.
And if penguins, when they smell Cheerios, start clapping their small little feet, why?
Correct.
Well, I really have no idea what they're talking about there. I'm assuming it's some kind of American commercial for Cheerios, which we really don't have over here. We do, but we don't have advertising campaigns for them. Certainly not ones involving penguins anyway. So, yeah, that's the end of that little skit. It just kind of piqued my interest. The only problem is that even if it is a joke, which I think it may be, obviously people like flat earthers, moon landing deniers and space deniers are leaping upon this as some kind of definitive I don't know, dramatization or explanation of all the things that disprove the moon landing, when in fact they've all been very easily disproved before. So yeah, it might get them some views, I don't know, but it's nothing new, and I'm not entirely sure why. And that, honestly, if you see their channel, I won't link it, see if you can find it. It's just really not that funny. But I'm going to... So that's them done. I'm going to move on to something else very quickly, and that is the concept of the spinning wet ball. The mantra that is... I said that a lot. The mantra that is oft repeated by people like David Rice, con man.
I am a 10 sure that it's not a spinning ball flying through a scientifically impossible space void that breaks every law of thermodynamics.
Eric Debate Nazi.
On a tilting, wobbling ball earth spinning uniformly around the sun.
Nathan Oakley, child abuser.
I missed that. Oh my god. Yeah. Right.
Careful, careful.
Anything?
And Level Up Observer. Idiot.
Demonstrable reality.
The concept of a spinning wet ball, you know, hurtling through space, wibbly wobbly, you know, timey-wimey stuff. Thinking that because we are measured and we are verified at going all these speeds in various directions, we should be able to feel it. Obviously, this is not the case because we are so bloody large. And the reason this came up, this sprung to mind, is because I found a video on YouTube. It's a 3-hour-long video showing the actual speed of the rotation of the Earth. Now, everybody pokes out this 1,000 mile an hour. And yes, it does travel at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator along the equatorial line. Everywhere else, up here, I'm south of London, in the UK, obviously. I think we're about 156 upon our tropic, I suppose that's a better line, longitude, latitude, whatever. So this video, it looks like you're watching a still image. It's Eternal Domain. I did find it, bear with me. Okay, so the video is on a page known as Orbital Domain. It just happened to pop up on my feed. And it's a really good demonstration of the actual speed of the rotation of the Earth. Remember, the rotation of the Earth is not measured in miles per hour. It's degrees per hour. 15 degrees per hour. Thank you, Bob. So if you do watch the video, it looks like the Earth isn't moving. But if you grab the slider on the YouTube video window and move it, you can actually see it is very, very slowly rotating over that 3 hours, which is absolutely perfectly accurate and actually illustrates quite well how fast we are not moving in relation to anything else. And as for orbiting, you know, David Rice, when he gets dragged on, well, he doesn't get dragged on, he runs jumping and skipping with joy whenever time somebody wants to talk to him and put him on video. You know, we're hurtling through space at 1,000, 1,000. Yeah, we are hurtling through space at 1,000 miles an hour, but so is everything else. If you're driving along the motorway at 60 miles an hour and the car beside you is driving at 61 miles an hour, you're both going at a very fast speed, but in relation to each other, you're still moving quite slowly. Anybody who's driven a truck with a speed limiter, trying to overtake an Arctic, when you're limited to 56 and they're at 54, and you're trying to overtake and you've got a junction coming up, that can get quite hair-raising. All the truck drivers say, you know, represent. Remember the magic word, parallax. Things closer to the camera are moving faster than things in the distance, even though, relatively speaking, they're all travelling at the same speed. So, the Earth isn't moving as fast as everybody seems to think it is, and these two guys from America really aren't funny. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Short and sweet one, this one. I will see you next time. Please like, please subscribe. Was there anything else I wanted to say? No, I think that is about it. Making it up as I go along, as per usual. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.